Hi there, this is Dr. Bill White again with the American Orthodontic Society, and we've had several videos here that we've been working on about high angles, high angle cases we call them, and some people wonder what they're talking about in that. And when we mention this, we're talking about the distance from the under the nose down to the chin. And when this gets really bad, it really messes up the facial structure. So we're going to try to show some things about that in this particular case. Now this case was done years ago, and I some way or another got away and I didn't get the finishing stuff on it, but I'm going to explain several things about the high angle that I would like for you to know when you get into this type of orthodontic work. So here is the young man, and when you look at him, you can see that his chin is way back in the mouth, way back here, where you'd rather have the chin come out something like that. So this is the angle right in here where the jaw meets the head right in under this area becomes excessively high if you get this angle right here. Now, if you get to a point where this is, I'm going to erase that for a minute and see if I can draw it on there. I'm trying to get this point across. If you can understand this, you'll know a lot about this now. So I'm going to erase that and just put a white page up there. Let's say the jaw is fitting back in this area here, and this is the head structure, and the bottom of the jaw goes down such like this. Now let's just say it comes here, and if you went down this way and came across, this would be about a 45-degree angle. Now, if the facial structure develops this and it gets worse than 45 degrees, if you go back with it, if you go down with it and increase it 1 point here, then this will make the length of the face a millimeter, like it'll be a millimeter down and a millimeter back at the same time. Once it gets to 45 degrees, then if you drop a millimeter, you're going to go back a millimeter in there. In other words, if it continues like this, it's swinging like a gate or something like that, and it's swinging back. And if it gets a lot worse than that, it really gets a terrible looking thing. So you can look at this case, even though I never did get to finish it completely, or something happens, you're so busy, a lot of times you just can't get pictures, or the person may finish up without getting the final work done, something of that nature. So let's take a look at it. But anyway, this young man's jaw is back a long way. And now, if it gets another millimeter down, it's going to go back further. And if you open this wide, this part of the jaw will just go back. And it looks like the guy has no chin. Where if you bring the chin up, you see, and close the space, it'll give him more chin. Now he's going to be shorter, the chin structure anyway. You go at it here. So this is just a tough case, and really, this case is something that really ought to go to surgery. I have scrubbed in on some cases where we did the surgery. You had to shorten the maxilla up in here and we did that like 10 millimeters off of the maxilla, and got off of surgery. So if you can do this without the surgery, it's so much better. Now there are several things you can do to lower this down, and I'm going to try to mention a few of these as we go through this. Let me show some more pictures of the young man. Looking on it from the anterior part of the mouth, you don't have to be a dentist or whatever to see this, but there's too much of this in here. You'd like to end that chin somewhere along in there, like the space, and you kind of mark off the facial structure like that. Now you're going to get these high angle cases, and you just have to deal with them. And this is why people that do a good bit of orthodontics or totally orthodontics, they discourage people messing with high angle cases, because anything you do to a tooth tends to make the tooth exfoliate. You can take let me go back to this clear page again. You can take a tooth, say let's take a molar tooth, comes up here, maybe a root over there and something in between here, and you push on it, just shove on it this way with force. Now this is any force you put on a tooth will tend to make the tooth exfoliate slightly. Now that's hard to believe sometimes, but that's correct. In other words, this is in the bone structure up here. If I move this crown over here, this root has to come down for that to move over here. And if this root comes down, this one is much harder to push into the bone than this one is to come to move out of the bone or away from the bone. So when you push a tooth here, this tooth goes down. When you straighten it back up again, this tooth is harder to go up than that one is to come down, and the tooth will end up further down in this fashion. If you can get this down in your mind, it doesn't matter what tooth it is in the head. If I push on that tooth right there, it tends to drop just slightly as it goes over in that fashion. The only force you can put on this tooth that makes it intrude is to put something straight onto it like that. Then that will make the tooth go. So if we screw around and don't know what we're doing here to straighten up somebody's teeth, and we do a lot of movement of teeth by pushing on them on the side or the inside, outside, it doesn't make any difference how you do it. Or if I just take a tooth and want to twist it, like I'm looking down on this, say there's a bicuspid, something in here that and we're going to try to spin it. We're going to put something on here that will put that chain elastic, wrap it around the tooth and come over here, and I turn the tooth in this direction. That tooth will not turn and go up, and it doesn't turn and stay in the same position, but it turns and will move toward the incisal edge of it. In other words, the upper tooth, it'll go down, lower tooth, it'll go up, and if it goes either way, you're going to increase this dimension of that person's face. So these are some facts that I hope that everybody just has in your brain when you're thinking about moving and doing things to the teeth. the high angle cases are very difficult to rotate and move all these teeth down here and keep the facial structure the same as it is or reduce it. So we have to put something to try to push the jaw up a little bit, or to put pressure on it to keep it from increasing the high angle case. So I hope that simple, just hard to pass on all of this. So here this young guy is, and he's got about a 3/4 of an inch of excess facial height in here, and this going down, even though he has not developed a chin that's long enough here. If this was a class 3 case, it's still going down like that. So let's get on here with it here a little bit. All right, we did this in 1973. This was right after I started doing nothing but orthodontics in 1970. But I did orthodontics back in I think my first case was a cousin or a nephew that was 1956. But I realized how much I needed to know on there, and I got with it to learn orthodontics. All right, so we're going to watch this case. It's in bands. Now we changed some bands to brackets in about 19. We didn't just do it immediately. We started back in 1972 or 3, and we still had some cases we were going with in 1950, about 6-7 years later through there. All right. Now, to counteract that force, we're going to be trying to move that jaw forward some in here, and we want to move that. We put a occipital headgear. This is the occipital bone here, and it comes right off of, and comes down to a bow here. Now, you take an occipital headgear, it will be something like you'll have a deal that goes into the teeth back here, and then you have a real heavy deal right here where it's, and then you can come over to the side and you'll have these hooks. You'll have one over here too, like that. Now the shorter we make these hooks, in other words, if you put the hook up here and you pull back, then it's going to tend to pull these teeth back. If you pull from the front, it'll pull the absolutely front teeth up and back. And so you can take that occipital headgear and rig it up where it'll pull the molar, or you can take, let's say if this is the incisal edge of the teeth, and if you pull from here, it'll raise it like that. If you pull from here, it might come up more straight. If you pull out here, it'll go this way. So you can regulate the angle that you pull the incisal edge with an occipital headgear. So we knew we didn't want to increase this. We didn't want this jaw to get even further back in here. So we put that on there. That's one thing that does that. Now today we know a little bit more about it, and we've done, well, we know a lot more about it. And we put blocks on these back teeth, back in here. And then the guy chews whatever he chews, he'll chew about 2 or 3 times as much force on that, and he will depress these teeth back in here and keep much of this from happening. And if you want to lower the angle of a case, you can remove some teeth and get it to go down. Now bicuspids will In other words, you took all the teeth out of the chin and on up there. But we take some of the teeth out, and whatever force is there will be on fewer teeth, so the muscle structure tends to press the teeth down, and the teeth will go up and reduce the vertical height of the face some in that fashion. Now I'm going to erase that, and we need to learn a lot about headgear, and you can use that. So let's go looking from the front. You can see really this is going to be lifting these teeth from this area across there. I think I would rather have these come out further and tend to lift it a little more toward the front in that way, but this is okay. All right. Let me change. All right, here is the guy's models. Now we looked and studied this case, and this was 1974 before we started, but we actually took the records in 73. And getting in here, this guy needed really to have some surgery done, but we're going to do the best we could. He couldn't have the surgery, so we decided to take out the first bicuspids, both upper and lower first bicuspid. And we knew that we could take out a 6-year molar, and that would reduce, if we did these three, reduce the force in the upper arch. Now he's got a wisdom tooth back here somewhere. It's going to come down. So we'd put all this jaw pressure in here on a molar tooth and could get it to intrude that molar. Now, as we intrude that molar and other teeth come in contact, then this angle right in coming down like this, would be less. And so we could reduce this dimension in here and make it look better. Make him look better, and he could chew better too. Now we're going to correct the class 2 problem, so you got double problems. I mean, this is a bad class 2 case. And this has several things we have to do, plus the high angle, and this is not a case somebody just starting would want to even think about doing a case like this. So let's get on to it. The other side would do the same thing. We've got about a centimeter. It looks like a 10 millimeter overjet right there. And this is a class 2 relation. This point of this tooth right here, the distal buccal cusp, ought to come in contact with this tooth back here. And it's that far off, you see, right here. And that's bring this jaw back to do that. All right, it looks, we're just going to remove those 6 teeth in here, and we'll bring these up from the back and bring these back and close that space out there. So this is what we're going to be trying to do, and so you can watch it. And I'm so sorry that something happened. I didn't get to finish we finished the case, but I didn't get it to record it like I should. Now let's go on, and that's the bottom arch. It's crowded, and the teeth are out of place. All right, we come back. This is 1974, and we've banded everything in his mouth, and we have a lot of this work already done. And we're using class 2 elastics on this right here, and we're bringing these teeth back. And so we've straightened this out. We've done a lot of this work, but most of that was just regular orthodontics, such we've been over many, many times with many cases and everything. All right. This is looking at class 2 from this side. And then we've taken the bicuspids out, but we still have not taken out these 6-year molars. And you're kind of cautious taking out the upper 6-year molars like that. But then this is the lower case now. He's a little bit tongue-tied. We probably had to do something to reduce that. We took the bias out, and this is the 6-year molar and the second molar, and we're moving them forward and to close this space, and we're using some class 2 elastics. In other words, we're pulling back on the upper teeth to bring these teeth forward back here. All right. Coming on the upper now, we're coming along. We've closed it up too. Everything's looking better. We're going to have to increase the overture of the arch itself in here. So here we are 2 years into the case now, 73, 74, and this is January 75. We're starting into that, and we've got the case looking pretty good. See, we close right down through the center, but I want to lose some more of this vertical height of the face. So we're going to continue to do. We'll come back and do the 6-year molar extraction. Now they've been done. Now, these teeth are out back here. I'm going to show all of this on X-ray in just a few minutes here. Those are out. Now here we've got the molar extraction side. And so you're pulling the lower molars, the upper second molar, and making room for the upper wisdom tooth to come in to fill in that place, and we'll close this together. But notice here we have reduced the teeth that are going to be contacting, and we did that before we got this one in contact here. So this helps bring the vertical dimension of the facial structure down. In other words, we've reduced the teeth up here and taken out some down here. So we're going to let this come down lower, but I don't have the finished stuff to show you, but we've got a lot of high angle cases. Now, here the lower, we've got it just about close together, and we use a different spring. We took a spring and made it, and then left an extension on it, and it came out. And with this spring might be stretched from here to here to increase this movement. This is a closed coil spring with an extension on it. I don't use it anymore, but it puts a lot of pressure on it, and it'll do it. So we got that on both sides of the mouth. Now this is the upper arch now, and this is the bicuspid space, and this is the molar space. So we've closed all that up to that point. Let's go and get into this. We're taking a little longer than I wanted to. Now we use this twisted wire. We go back and hook it to the molar down on the bottom, and we twist that, and it pulls it up on the inside, which curves the arch wire in that fashion. Let me go back. I forgot to erase that. All right, that's the 6-year molar coming forward. And here, this is the starting. This is where we first saw this guy in 1973. And we didn't get started on it for quite a while. And now, here's what we had planned to do. we're going to take out those upper 6-year molars and help lower this vertical dimension of the face. And I wish to goodness I had the finishing stuff to show you. And there we've taken the bias, and now we'll come back and take the 6-year molars, and we've took out the lower wisdom teeth too. And that's missing, and this is missing up in here. And as we bring this forward, we've reduced the teeth that contact in that area. And we got this guy looking pretty good. And here it is in 76. And we're just about to get finished with him. And we've got the space closed both upper and lower. Now that's the upper arch. We've got, this is the second molar now, and this is the second bicuspid. The first bicuspid gone here, and the molar's gone here, and the space is closed up. And we put all of his chewing force on fewer teeth. We used the occipital headgear to bring that up. And there's several things here. We taught him how to chew and bring his jaw forward and keep it, press it down, breathe through his nose, and everything, and closing the space up. And I think this is just about as far. And we leave this or come in contact. If I were doing it before, we'd had the intruding arch here and bring this up. But this was back when I first got really started in orthodontics. Now that's closing the band space. We put those elastics on there like that. And there's our upper arch after we've pretty well finished. And that's the lower one. And I think we took the teeth out. And I am sorry that we, somewhere or another, but you get busy and you just miss a lot of stuff. If you're in busy practice and you're doing a lot of orthodontics, you find, I took nearly all the pictures that we took. And I had to leave and go do photographs on people to get these done. And they weren't digital pictures then. We had to send the the film off and get it developed. So I'm going to say goodbye, and I hope you get something from this, even though you can tell we did not finish it up and let you see it after we got through with it. But the things that we did, all of them, just virtually all of them, we would continue to do that in lowering high angle cases. So thanks again, and I'm going to say goodbye. Hope you'll join us later. Thank you. Now I'm going to close that.